Hey, what's going on, everyone? You are live with Osiris, and welcome to Feel Good Happiness, a show that is geared towards just making you feel happy, making you aware that there's something in you that just deserves all kinds of happiness. Regardless of your mood, regardless of what point you are in life, there are often times where we face adversity. There are often times where things just are not going your way. And that's just life. You know, sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's really difficult to overcome that. But there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And it is easier said than done. And it is much easier for other people to say certain things depending on the amount of funds that they have. You know, what does their wealth look like, or what is their net income, or what is their net worth, depending on what class you are in, whether you are like lower class, middle class, upper class. It could absolutely determine what level of happiness you have. I've often heard that money doesn't buy happiness. Though that may be true in certain aspects, it does allow you to be in better circumstances to add to your happiness. But I want to talk about gratitude. I recently had a chain of events in my life that happened that really, truly deserve acknowledgement. You see, being kind to people in a world where there are many people who are cruel truly does matter. For those that you encounter that may not be as kind, you may also encounter others who are equally or more kind, more generous than what you are accustomed to. And for me, I go through my life treating everyone the same. I go in with the benefit of the doubt until I'm proven otherwise. But I generally have this mindset of, let's just be kind to people. Let's be respectful, regardless of the position that they are in the chain, regardless of the position of rank, regardless of the position of authority. Whether you are on the bottom of the tier list or you are at the very top, that marquee person, I'm treating everybody exactly the same. Everyone gets the same respect all across the board. That is how I was raised. That is my thought process. And I encourage everyone to have a similar mindset. You see, when you're kind to people, when you are genuinely generous to people, it absolutely will come back to you. Now, this may not make sense for people who aren't familiar with military terminology, so I'm going to try to make it make sense. In the military, there's this term called PCS, Permanent Change of Station is what it stands for. We oftentimes, maybe between 3 to 5 years, will receive some sort of orders, meaning we will receive a notification that it is time for us to relocate to another base, which is, let's just say base, think of it as another installation, another place of work that we need to go to. So you receive these orders, and depending on the needs of that particular branch of service, it's going to determine where you go. Now, there is a thing called a dream sheet. You can update your dream sheet with places that you're interested in. Sometimes you are fortunate to receive a notification to one of those locations that you want. Sometimes you don't. I initially received some orders to PCS, or for lack of better terms, I received a notification to relocate from Northern California, where I am currently, to Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana, which is close to Shreveport, about 2 hours away from Dallas, Texas. Now, initially when I received that notification, I was kind of taken aback because my experience with the South was when I was in Georgia. And, you know, it was good, but there were some aspects that I wasn't so fond of. But once I went to Mississippi for 2 months, my entire perspective on how I should view places did change. However, I was a bit bummed out about going to Louisiana initially because I didn't know, what to expect. The culture coming from California, being here for almost 10 years, and then going to Louisiana, the pace and the opportunities, I foolishly allowed that to be obscured in my pessimistic outlook of what it could have been. But I'm sure if I were going to be going there still, I would have made the absolute best of it. Everywhere you go is going to be different. And depending on who you work with and the environment that you're in will absolutely determine your enjoyment. So anyway, that's besides the point. I initially had orders to go to Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana. And 2 months later, earlier this week to be specific, I received a notification that I was denied those orders. Okay, interesting. So now what? What do we do now? So, been working with a coordinator. This coordinator is an individual who helps service members that have family members on a special needs type of a program. They require special medical attention, which would be my family. All three of my children and my wife all require some sort of special needs, whether it's special needs or it's medical needs that require specialty care, right? So because of that, we were medically denied going to Barksdale. So then this is where it is important to always be respectful and kind to people, because you never know when something good will come along. But you shouldn't expect something good to come along if you're always, to the best that you can be, being good to people, or being good to yourself, or being good to society. Because what ended up happening was we had the fortunate opportunity to actually pick between 5 places that we wanted to go, that the military was willing to move us to, depending on the availability of that installation. I recently transitioned from mental health over to finance, and I've had the pleasure of being able to work in finance these last 2 weeks. Well, not necessarily work, but shadow and learn the actuality of the world of finance. All of this all happened around the same time. I'm in finance, my orders got denied, so I was able to speak with one of the higher ranked people in that finance office. He was able to go and look across the Air Force to see exactly which places, based off of what I asked him to look into, to see if there was availability there. We picked 5 places and learned what the availability was. All I needed to do then was try to figure out, do these areas have the specialty care that my family requires? This is where the generosity comes back in. You see, because I had been generous and kind to the coordinator, she was willing to say, you know what, let me send you the actual website that you need to look into to determine if they have specialty care there for your family. You see, I had one guy kind enough to help me see where the availability is for these bases. And then I had this lady who was kind enough to send me pretty much a list of places that could match the specialty care and the location that was required for my family. I included my wife in the entire process. And to me, that's important because we're partners, and that needs to be acknowledged. You need to always include your partner when you're making decisions that impacts your partner. That's important to me. Being sneaky, being conniving, none of that in the end matters. It always comes back to you. So anyway, my wife and I, we picked 5 locations. We talked to the people we needed to talk to, and we learned these are the areas we want to go to that has the availability. Boom. They said this process takes about 2 to 6 weeks to figure out something. I spoke to the individual who's in charge of the assignments. She was kind enough to help me out. That process got expedited in 48 hours. Not 2 to 6 weeks, 48 hours. And then I received a notification on the 3rd day, 72 hours to be specific. This whole process, 72 hours, learned that, hey, not only was your reassignment approved, you are also able to find out where you're going. So we are now going to Washington State, about 45 minutes away from Seattle and about 20 minutes away from Tacoma. This location is absolutely gorgeous. Coming from California, being in the droughts that often happens, and it rains every so often, and there's not really any snow where we live at. I mean, maybe in Lake Tahoe, we'd have to drive, but in our immediate location in our home, there is no snow. It's kind of dry throughout the year, but we don't complain. I love California. But Washington State, a place that my wife has always wanted to go, and a place that I've grown fond to want to go to. Being a fan of Twilight and seeing all that nature and how ominous it looks and mischievous it looks. This is a place that I've wanted to entertain visiting. Now we have that opportunity because it all wraps back around to being gracious, to appreciating people, to being generous, to being kind, really and truly taking care of those around you as well as yourself in such a way that anytime someone thinks about you, anytime someone becomes aware of who you are, they automatically affiliated with this man or this woman. He or she is so respectful. He or she is so kind. They were always willing to help. They were always willing to take care of me. And I'm willing to take care of you. And it's just the reciprocating chain of events will always be what you put out initially. If you put out something that you don't want, it's going to come back to you. So just do the best you can to just be gracious of what you have. Do the best you can to just enjoy the little things that you have and put out as much positive energy as you can. I know in reality, we're going to have some terrible days. We're going to have some bad days, some sad days, but to the best that you can, just be happy. And that's what this is about. Feel good happiness. I want people to feel good being happy. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to feel good. It is okay to be kind to people. You don't have to be a jerk. You don't have to be mean or rude. You don't have to abuse your power to get people to follow you. All you have to do is just be kind. That is literally it. Don't let people walk over you now. Do not let that happen. Do not mistake kindness for weakness. Be assertive when you need to be. Follow the rules, but ultimately be respectful and treat people equally. And on that note, I just want to say thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to tune into my show, Feel Good Happiness. You all take care, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.